We good now?
We're good.
All right. Sweet.
Here.
Perfect. All right. Sorry about that, guys. What is up, though? Happy Wealth Wednesday. When I heard Brigham talking about the topic today, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to share some stuff with you guys. And so, let's see. So I am just pulling up a whole bunch of things because we're gonna show and tell today. Oh my goodness. I had the hardest time. I repeat, the hardest time overcoming some of the things that Brigham is talking about. And so I wanted to share. But yeah, so let me make sure I get it straight though, because I remember as soon as I heard you talking about this, I was like, oh, and I started pulling up a bunch of resources that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
Put it in your words one more time for me though.
Yeah. So the roles that we all have to cover in our business, there are multiple ways that at the very beginning that you have to show up. You have to be the CEO, you have to be the CFO, you have to do all the different things in your business to make sure it's successful. And in your experience, how do you make sure you're stepping into the right roles at the right time? And then when you're not being as effective necessarily, doing all the things, you're like, now who is the next chief cornerstone role that I need to outsource? And you start getting key players. So that's the idea.
Yeah. All right. Good. I'm glad that I was on the right wavelength when I started pulling stuff up, because this will work. This will work for the person who is just getting started. And I wish that I knew this when I was just getting started myself, but I didn't. And I held out. Oh man, I held out playing all the hats, if you will, or putting all the hats on myself. I held out for too long. I will be the first to admit that I probably could have expanded or grown faster had I done I'm going to share an activity for every single person to do. And it doesn't matter if you're just getting started, or maybe you've done a couple of deals, or maybe you are continuing to build your business where you're getting regular business coming in, whether that's students, whether that's real estate, doesn't matter. This will work. I love that. This will work for anybody, no matter where you are. And so my story, I'll share the resources as we go. Like I say, I held out. Oh, I held out too long doing everything. And so here's what worked for me. And this is what helped me branch out and start hiring out the things that I knew I could hand off. And oh my gosh, it helped me build the life that I have today. And I freaking love it. Oh my goodness. And so anyway, so Brigham is exactly right though. You have to think that you are your own CEO, that you are your own employee, that you are your own accountant, or I shouldn't say accountant, bookkeeper, that you are your own in the beginning. And you have to think in a way of employee versus CEO in so many cases. And here's what I mean by that. Before I hired any employees, I was doing all my own bookkeeping. I was doing all my own paperwork. I was doing all my own tracking and organizing and sales. Like I was everything, literally everything. And it was a lot. But here's the thing. As soon as I started thinking like, all right, I'm and I would even go to the point of putting on the hat and say, go make real hats that have the things on them to help remind yourself, and put like a little rear view mirror or something like that on your computer setup or whatever to help yourself remember that, all right, right now I'm acting as a CEO. What do the employees do? What do they need to be doing? How do they report back to me? How do they, and so Bill, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Man, I hope we have plenty of time today. You guys got like 4 hours today? No, just kidding. So literally be thinking like, okay, how do the employees report back that they finished their work, if you will? And then I would take off that CEO hat and I would put on the employee hat and I would go and do the work to the point where I literally would have to do it in a way that I could report back, that the CEO could come in at any time and see what's going on in the business. And so here, let me share my screen for I need to click this button. Let me share my screen real fast. Let's see. Oh, and with my with my mindset at the time, it had to be free. And that was the criteria. So let me make this big. And I'm not sure if I can even like make this extra big, or let's see. I swear there was a way to make your Finder stuff even bigger, but I don't see a way. Anyway, hopefully you guys can see this okay. So the first
Command
item,
plus will do that, or Apple Plus.
Command plus, let's see. It doesn't like it. I swear I've done this before, that I made it bigger, and I cannot remember how I did that. I'm guessing it's going to be in like the view edit.
Do you hear me, Dane? If you hit Command or the little Apple key and you hit the plus
Yeah,
button,
oh, here we go.
Is that just not working?
Next size 16. All right, there we go. That's a little bit bigger.
Okay, sweet.
And so let me expand these out real fast. So the first thing that I did, knowing that I'm wearing all the hats, is how does CEO Dane get the feedback, get the accountability, if you will, get the be able to look at our system, if you will. And I legit would call it a system. And even today, I'm going to call it a system, even though it was free 99 to set this up. Notice I'm using the Finder app on my computer, or if you don't have an Apple, it's called File Explorer on your computer, and they both come with the computer. File Explorer and Finder are free, and so here's how I would do it. And so I'm going to show you just basically real estate deal stuff. But every time I do a hard money loan, for example, notice that I have this hard money template, and I have all these empty, blank, nothing is in them folders. Oh, there's one that's a template, because sometimes we have to send out that template. But notice that all these folders are completely blank, and there's nothing in them. But notice I have all these emojis. And this was how I was able to say, or this is how I was able to break down making my offers to do a real estate deal. This is how I was able to break down, like, oh, I need to remember to do all of these things. Because if I look at some of my original real estate deals, here, let's see if I can find some of these. Let's see, the OGs. Oh, I don't know what I just did. Let's undo that. Some of these OGs, let's see. Look at this. This was a real estate deal that I did. And I look at this and I laugh. Just like, how did I even remember to get all? I probably didn't remember to get all the stuff. I probably didn't remember to dot the I's and cross the T's. And so let's see if I even look at some of these other ones. Let's see if I find some more originals. And I have just like a folder, and there's like a whole bunch. Like, how do I navigate this? And especially, I remember thinking in my mind, how does the CEO look at what the employee is doing or did, and within 1 second, that was my criteria. Within 1 second, how can I find out, oh, here's where we are in the process? 1 second. And I kept looking at this thinking, I can't do that. I cannot. The employee, Dane, does the work, has the organization, but how does the CEO, Dane, just log in, look at a deal, and say, oh, here's where we are within 1 second? That was my criteria. And this is what I ended up coming up with. So let's go back to that incoming deal. So here's a deal that we're literally closing on today. And within 1 second, I can tell you exactly where this deal is at. And so this is basically that template all filled out with stuff loaded in to all these folders. I'm so glad that my assistant is on, so this actually is a point where I have somebody else doing all the stuff that we're seeing right now. And it takes me 1 second to be like, oh, here's where we are in the process of this deal. We are, as of, let's see, 5, 6. So 2 days ago, we were waiting on signatures for participants. We raised money to do this deal. So we're waiting for signatures from all the participants that are coming in on this deal with us. And then as soon as that's done, we're going to have to build a trust and get it all notarized. And then we're waiting on recorded docs. But we've already done all the numbers, right? So you might recognize this deal check, all the numbers on this particular deal. Here's the comps, if you will. Let me move that up here. So here's all the comps that we pulled on that deal. Here's all the rent estimations and stuff like that we pull on every single deal. And so within literally seconds, I can see, oh, here's where this deal is. And so let me come back to that template. And so I would do this before I had employees. And so, my assistant thinks I am hilarious. She calls me the emoji king because I used to have, what's that app called? Asana. Anybody heard of Asana? Or there's another one. There's another app. I forget what it's called. It's a paid app, but in those apps, you could build tasks and you could build all these different templates and mark things off. But I was like, but now somebody has to go into the Asana app, check a box that says, I did this. And then they have to go to some kind of filing system and file away that paperwork. And if it's not in the method shown before you right now, if I go back to that other deal where it's just like there's one folder and like tons and tons of documents, it takes forever to find something. Like, let's say down the road you did the deal like 6 months ago, 5 years ago, I don't care. And you're like, oh shoot, I need to pull this thing. I need to pull the settlement statement for whatever reason. That'd be hard to find in our old system. If I look at deals that I did 10 years ago, I bought Renatus 9 years ago. If I looked at deals I did 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I bet you I couldn't find anything. But in this system, it literally takes me 1 second to not only find out where the deal is, but also to find the stuff particularly related to what I need. And so all these emojis mean something. And again, this was my way to say, okay, I'm getting rid of my paid Asana account and doing this in a folder system. And notice over here that I am using Google Drive. And so this is how my assistant is building this beautiful folder of a real estate deal where we make thousands of dollars. And I can come in and look at it in 1 second and see exactly where everything is. You can do this. You could do this with bringing in students. You could do this with your real estate deal. I mean, I would highly recommend doing this with your real estate deals, and to keep things organized for free. Because most of the time, I mean, what do they call it? Real estate is, I've heard it said both ways, and I believe that it is both ways. But some people say real estate is not a contract sport, it's a contact sport. And some people say the other way around. Oh, real estate is not a contact sport, it is a contract sport. I say it's both. Real estate is a contact sport, and then it's a contract sport because you say things, you say words, you have a conversation with a human, and everybody says, yeah, I like the idea of that. And then you say, cool, I'll write that up. And then it's just paperwork upon paperwork upon paperwork. Depending on the deal, more paperwork. So for example, here is one of my seller finance type deals, even more paperwork. And we even have, like, if I'm bringing in a credit partner, then even more paperwork. This is one deal. This is one deal just to make, I don't know, $1,000 a month. Here's everything I have to remember. There is no humanly possible way that I could remember all this stuff. And so this was my original idea, that I would do this myself. And I would build out these template folders, if you will. And you'll notice that I've got them for contract for deed. I've got them for hard money. I've got them for, let's see, if I go back to Real estate. Real estate deals. I've got them for, where is it? Wholesaling template, fix and flip template. And so I build those, I would build these folders out, and you can even see that there's like been an evolution of my original ideas. When I would build, when I would do the deal, and it's grown from there. And so what you see here, if I go back to incoming and let's see, part of my template, you notice that now it's like, oh, we got 1.1, 1.2, because we're going to do those two things at the same time. And that's what that means for us. And that's how I would know, like, okay, cool. I need to do these two things in the same sitting. Or nowadays, it was so easy to hire somebody. So easy to hire somebody, because I would put on the CEO hat and be like, all right, I'd be typing up, what does it look like that the employee can do the job, and the employee knows what to do. That was my biggest hurdle, is how do I tell my employee what to do every second of every day? That was my original thing. Like, I can't hire employees. How am I going to have time to tell them what to do every day? And this was a way that I could hire an employee, and they can open this folder, and within 1 second can find out, what do I need to do next? Literally takes her 1 second. I only have to talk to my employee like once a week, maybe. And she just knows what to do every second. And it only takes her 1 second to find out. She doesn't have to like dig and like, okay, what do I need to do today? How do I be efficient? How do I earn my paycheck today? She doesn't even need to think that. She just logs in, looks at this, and says, oh, looks like they haven't signed yet. And we tried to get it signed on 5/6, so 2 days ago. And so I just need to hit the button, remind them to sign, because it looks like they haven't signed yet. 1 second. And so notice here that let's say that they go ahead and sign. As they do the task that the emoji represents, right? So if you can see the emoji, it's the hand with a pen, which means signature. And so let's say that they do it. All she has to do is come in here and sign off. Well, I'm going to put DC for me to say, hey, I signed off on this. Notice that down here, KL, she signed off on all of these. I have not seen this deal. This is the first time I'm seeing it. KL, she signed off on all this paperwork that she went and chased or built or whatever. And so she changes that. So emojis are gone. But now if I come up here in the very front and see V for verified, in other words, I verified out all the documents that I loaded into this folder, and I finish it, notice it bumps down here, and so within 1 second, she knows, oh, here's what I need to do next. I need to build the trust, and the little lock with the, what do they call that? It's like the ink pen. That's our emoji that represents notarization. And so she's like, oh, I need to get the trust that we built notarized. And she knows what to do there. And then the little mail thing means that we need to send it to somebody. Right. And so obviously I had to go through with her the first time to say, oh, notarize, that's what this means. Notarize, and you punch it in here and you get this notarized. And then the mail is, oh, we need to mail it to who? And so she can ask herself, who needs to notarize this? And even a brand new employee that had never done this before, I can just tell them, well, look at the document. Who's on the signature lines? Oh, it looks like these are the people on the, or this is the person on the signature line. Looks like that's who needs to notarize it. And then back to the email thing, like, okay, who needs to see this? Who needs to get a copy of this when it's all finished? Oh, all the partners. And so this just needs to be emailed up to the partners, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now I better undo all that stuff, because she's not going to know to finish that. Because again, it takes 1 second for her to log in, open this, and say, oh, here's what I need to do. Now I did this for years myself, and that's how I would treat myself is, all right, CEO hat, how do I build the system that employee Dane, when Dane is on the clock, employee, log in and do this in 1 second. Especially if you're doing any kind of real estate deal, it's a contract sport. Because once you make the contact and everybody says yes, now you have to do paperwork. That's what real estate deals are, in my opinion. Real estate deals are paperwork that says you get paid. And as long as all the paperwork adds up and points to that conclusion that you get paid, then you get paid and your bank account, right? So real estate to me is a contact sport. This and they say yes, and now it's a contract sport, and then it's a money transfer. Right? So first it's a conversation, then it's paperwork, then it's wire transfers, direct deposits, mailbox, checks, whatever kind of real estate deal you're doing. That's how you get paid. And so, or Venmo or whatever. There's a bunch of ways to get paid in real estate, but you get the idea. Money transfers. And so this was a way that I built for myself to track. And I was so thankful that I didn't have to remember, because I remember watching like Christian George in The Essentials, or let's see who were some of the other ones. Brian Sump in the AIT and Fix and Flip Track. And I remember thinking, like, how do I remember all of these things to do step by step, every single, like, how do I remember all this? And I first started with like checklists, like in the notes apps and stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah, now I got my list in the notes. But then even then I have to go to the notes, and then I have to figure out how to file it somewhere and remember where it is, because if not, I can go back to every deal I have ever done. Let's see, done deals. And look at this. Here's a deal that was done, I don't know, maybe even 2 years ago. And I can look at every single thing. I can see who verified out this deal. So you can notice that my assistant did all of this deal. And I can say, oh, settlement statement. Let's say I'm like, oh, what was the settlement statement on this deal? How much did we wire in? Whatever. Or the lender docs. Or, oh, who's the partners on this? Bam, I can pull all the legal paperwork within seconds. And I can go to any deal, as long as it's a deal that we actually did. This updated system, if you will. All right, look at this. To me, this is art. This is beautiful. Look at this stuff. Looking at all these different deals, and I've got all the paperwork, and I can find it within seconds, unless it's an older one. Let's see. I think I just clicked on an older one. This was an older one. Let's see. Does it show me when these files were built? Oh, this one's not even filled up. Look at that. Didn't even get insurance. Didn't even finish due diligence, or at least document it. Like, what the heck was I thinking? However long ago this deal was. Let's see. Does it show us 2019? So you can see, like, even 5 years ago, wasn't crazy organized. My own, what I was doing. And so you can see that the evolution, if you will. But look at this beautiful, beautiful organization. I can find anything at any time. And on the new stuff, literally takes me 1 second to log in and say, oh, here's what I need to do at the end of the day. And so I even do this. So like I'm refinancing a handful of properties right now. In fact, we just closed on this one yesterday. And so now I can say, oh, this is done. And so here's like real work, real live happening right now. Custom trust payoff. I already did that. So, oops, I don't mean to do the Z. The Z means like, oh, we can skip that one. So let's put that one to bed. V means verified. So I'm going to verify that out. And so I can say, oh, I need the settlement from the lender. And so, and the little emoji that says this is like, oh, go get this. So I know literally within 1 second, like, oh, shoot, I don't have that. I even forgot to ask the title company, hey, will you send me the digital copies? So here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to pull up my email. Let's see if they're going to let me do this. Share email, and then let's keep on sharing that Finder. So I'm going to pull up my email. Sorry if this makes this even smaller for you guys, but you're at least going to get the get the gist. And so I'm going to find, whoops, her name is Robin Moran. Whoops. And I'm just going to go find, I'm a big fan of like, try to use the same email thread for the entire deal if you can, because anybody ever tried to go back to email and try to find like, oh shoot, I know they said this thing or they sent me this attachment and now you need to go find it. And so I do my very best to try and keep the same email thread going as much as possible. Not every other title company is quite like that, but yeah, I try. And so some of these I have like 60 emails in the thread, and I can just go through every single one of them. But in this case, you know, she was just talking about the wire, and I can say, oh, let's see, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this because it's probably halfway through. So I email the title company and say, oh, will you send me the entire digital packet for this deal for my file? So look at this. We're having like a working meeting here. Oh, will you send me the entire digital packet for this deal on my file? Question mark. See, for my file. Send. And now I can come in here and say, I can add, today is 5/8. Let's see. Yeah, 5/8. And I can say, okay, I asked for this on 5/8. And so now tomorrow, let's say she doesn't send it to me. I can come in here and say, and within 1 second, I know exactly what to do. Again, email her again. Hey, did you get my email about the whole packet? Can you send that to me? And then I would just change this to 5/9. And so literally within 1 second, I can find out what has been done and what needs to be done. I hope this is making sense to you guys. And sorry, I got a hair in my mouth. And this is like helping organize yourself. But yeah, now we look at this entire deal. So I bought this house and I lined up a buyer to buy it before I even bought it. And then I bought it. And then the same day I bought it, I sold it on a lease option to someone else. And then I refinanced it. So that's why it says refinance docs. And I signed on the loan yesterday to refinance the house. And so I got to get all the final CD and all that stuff from there. And then after that, I got to get the payment coupon. I got to get that to my my payment processor. I got to build a series LLC, which technically was already built. And I got to move the title from from where it is to my series. Like I would never remember all of these things. No way I would remember all these things. But I hope this is making sense. So that as you are building your business, especially doing any kind of real estate deals or whatever it is, as you're watching your classes in Renatus, be doing this where you instead of just build a checklist, let's go back to here, incoming deals template, build a checklist like this, especially if that checklist means you need to go chase a document, like property insurance. That means that I need to call my insurance agent and I need to say, hey, send me the insurance. And then the little eyeglass thing, if you can see that emoji, sorry if it's really small. Oh, wait, let's make this bigger for you guys. Stop share and reshare the Finder app. If you can see the little spyglass thing, or I should not even a spyglass, actually. It's like the thing that reminds me like, hey, review the document with a fine tooth comb. And so that was the emoji I picked. And so I need to, not only when I get the insurance, I need to actually look at it and does it have the key points that I'm looking for? And if it does, then mark it off, DC for Dane Clark, and hit V at the beginning so it drops to the bottom, and all these other ones are at the top. So anyway, I beat this dead horse to death. Like I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. Organize yourself. When you're doing any kind of paperwork, contract sport, let's call it, and you have to chase documents or build documents or get documents signed or anything, email those documents to people. All right, so that's what all these emojis mean. A lot of these are just chasing, like all the fingers, like like, hey, will you send this to me? That's what that means in the emoji. Or the paintbrush means like, hey, we have to build something. The paint, what do they call that thing? The paint black or whatever. I don't know what it's called, but it just reminded me of building. And to me, this is art. And so that's why I chose the paint. I'm not sure what they call that, but it's that thing that you put your thumb through and your finger through, and you have like a lot of different dots if the emoji is too small.
Palette.
Paint palette?
Yes, the paint palette. Because to me, like I say, this is art. Doing real estate deals is art. And this is beautiful to organize yourself in this manner. And that's honestly, when I mentioned, like, when you're watching the class of Brian Sump of like, hey, here's all the steps of the deal. Be in your Files app, whether it's Finder on a Mac or whether it's File Explorer on a Windows. Be building these folders and just make them empty. And just make sure that you only fit like 1, maybe 2 documents per folder. And especially, like, for example, purchase docs, we might have a handful of docs in that one because we're going to have purchase agreement, addendums. There might be things like, I'm trying to remember what else would be in the purchase docs, but that's mostly it. Purchase contract and addendums. Title commitment, technically that's towards the purchase, but that's a completely different animal. That's a different document. So title commitment from the title company. Now this one might have like the PR, the title commitment. It might have the plat map, the GIS maps. It might have it might have a bunch of things in this, but it's the same category, if you will. But most of these, like CPL or closing protection letter, there's just one document in there. Participant signed, there's just one document. Wire instructions, there's just one document. And notice that it says the finger, hey, title company, will you send me wire instructions? And then it has the arm with a phone in it, which means, oh, we got to call somebody and we have to verify these wire instructions. And so my assistant knows, in fact, here, let's go to today's deal. And I go to the wire instructions. Notice that it's named in all caps in the beginning, confirmed. So that tells me that not only Kate, my assistant, she verified out the wire instructions, meaning she did all the emojis. She called the title company, verified the wire instructions, verified it out, and even named the the file, confirmed wire instructions. And if I go to any deal, especially in the recent past, let's see, where's my wire instructions? Oh, that was for a different deal, I guess, because wire instructions weren't important. But again, if I go to any done hard money deal, wire instructions, notice that it says confirmed, and they are all identically, exactly, as soon as we built this system, I should say. Obviously, it's been an evolution, but they are identical. You go to a big company like, let's say, Apple, they have their systems and processes where the systems are literally identical. Transaction to transaction, process to process. Everything, every little thing that you see in these massive corporations that have hundreds, if not thousands upon tens of thousands of employees, they have to be like this, where it is identical, transaction per transaction, deal per deal, system per system, process for process. And so that's essentially what we try. And again, I ran this myself for years. But I will say that when I finally hired my first employee, it was a matter of minutes to be like, here's how it works. Here's how you know what to do. Here's how basically all they needed was a login and then an understanding of what all the emojis meant, which we basically built like a glossary of terms, if you will, of like, here's what all the folders mean, and here's what all the emojis in the folders mean. And so that way, if he was like, oh shoot, what does that one mean again? You go look it up. And that's right. I need to run the title company and review that. And so anyway, I hope this is helping. I'm sorry I'm not watching. Okay, not too many comments. But what do the various codes mean? I hope we answer that. If you have more questions as we go, Good morning, Dane. Are you a paperless office? Yes. If you look around my office, the only paperwork I have in my office, I'm going to show you right now, is so if you see all these folders, the only paperwork I have in my office are like vehicle titles, and I've got it pulled out right now because I just bought a bunch of stuff. But like here's like all the titles that I have to have for, and these are just all the things I bought recently that I need to put in a manila folder. And that's it. That's the only paperwork I have at my desk is car titles or vehicle titles or whatever, four-wheeler, snowmobile, dirt bike, whatever. Equipment titles. Other than that, paperwork, zero, nothing. When people say, "Oh, when a title company says, "Oh, what's your mailing address?" I don't even give them my mailing address. I don't give them my house address. I give them, again, back to systems. You know what? This is going to be a great transition. So let's do this. Excuse me. So let's do this. Let me stop share here. Start share Google. So this will be a great transition because
wait, Dane.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. Before you move on, what do you call your system that you just shared with us right now?
The foldering thing?
Yeah.
I've never thought about that actually. But just my foldering system, my tasks, if you will. Yeah, I never thought about that because basically it replaced an app like Asana, which is basically just a project management software that you can build tasks to like build, have checkbox to say, yes, we did this. That's what it was designed to replace, was one of those paid apps that technically was redundant because you had to go to the app, find out what you had to do, and then you had to go, let's say it was paperwork related, you had to figure out where to put that paperwork. And so you had to do it twice. And I was like, I don't want to pay my employee to do every little thing twice. Check the box here, file it over there. So I was just like, okay, we need a foldering system that's in the cloud so that she can do work and I can see it on my end, and I can do work and she can see it on her end. And the CEO can look at it and in 1 second be like, oh, looks like here we are in the deal. Or the employee can look at it and say, here's what I need to do in 1 second, find out here's my next course of action to do. And so yeah, project management foldering system. I don't know. I never thought about the name. I just thought about what I wanted it to do or what I wanted it to replace. And so anyway, so there's that. Thinking CEO hat, employee hat in your systems and processes. But next, let's talk about just what you do every single day. And what was I going to come back to? I better make a note of this because somebody asked a question. Let me look at the chats. Paperwork. So remind me if I forget. Remind me to talk about what, because I don't go through mail in here, but remind me to bring up the mail. What if we call it the 1 second filings? There you go. I mean, it probably takes more than 1 second to do the filing stuff, but it only takes you 1 second to know what to do or to know
filing at a glance.
There you go. Anyway, so here was the next activity. Let's see, we're 9 o'clock. You guys cool if I'll try and wrap
stay on this topic. I feel like it's relevant for everybody.
Yeah, this helps with real estate massively helps with real estate. So here's an activity for you. Okay. I want you to, let's see. Let me stop the share on this really fast. Where's my Zoom? There it is. Let me put that where I remember. Stop share, reshare my calendar. So here's what I want you to do. Let me put this up here so I don't have to kink my head so much. All right. So let's just go to like a future week. So for 1 week, and I promise you're going to hate me when I tell you that this is what I want you to do. You're going to hate me for 1 week, but I promise you this. If you do what I'm about to show you for 1 week, you will probably thank me for the rest of your life. Does that that fair, everybody? Give me a head nod. Like, okay, Dane, like you'll thank me for the rest of your life if you do this activity. So here's what I want you to do. For 1 week, 7 days, and even then, like not even on a weekend, like just your working days. So even like potentially Monday through Friday, maybe Monday through Saturday if you're working on Saturdays. If you're working 7 days a week, shame on you. At least start taking Sundays off. But for 1 week, I want you to literally track. I do not want to see any black space in your calendar, or if you use a white calendar, any white space in your calendar. I want you to track every 15-minute section, because that's the easiest, that's the smallest event to quickly. Again, I want you to be able to do this in 1 second. That's the name of the game here. Because if it's not super simple, if it's really cumbersome and tedious, you won't do this. I wouldn't have done this either. And so in your calendar, every 15-minute block, I want you to fill out for 1 week everything that you do. Even if it says, like, I relaxed. Relaxed. Relax. Even if it says I stared at the wall, I don't care. Put every little thing that you do for every 15-minute block for, again, 1 week. That's it. And so then you'll be like, okay, I made calls to prospects. Prospects. I took a break. That's fine. Just fill in every 15. Like I don't want to see any black. And so every day, hopefully you have something that you're filling in. Like let's see. I'm looking at some of this stuff. Let's see. Bookkeeping. Did my bookkeeping for an hour and it sucked. Maybe some people on here are like, I love bookkeeping. Oh yeah, some people do. And so you have all this stuff, and I'm just going to do one big one here to just make fill in. And so when my work day ended, let's say I finished at 7 p.m. Notice that there's no black. Oh, there is a black. So I need to come in here and maybe remember, like, oh, what did I do for this section? I remember I talked on the phone, whatever. So for 1 week, you have no black showing. And you go through your entire week and you track every little thing that you do, every different category. Okay. And then let me stop the share here and come over to Google. And then what you're going to do is go through that 1 week and you're going to start listing, okay, what were all the categories of the things that you did? And so here, this was literally I'm not sure if this is going to show me the date of when I did this, but this is years ago. This was my personal activity. This was the product of me doing this for 1 week. And so I did a whole bunch of follow-up calls and emails, lots of emailing, and especially in the Renatus business, lots of emails, lots of calls, responding to incoming texts. So I had incoming. So in other words, this was more of a outbound activity, or let's see, what do they call that? This was a proactive activity, proactive follow-up calls. This was more of a reactive activity, for example. So I respond to incoming texts, emails, calls, setting appointments. If you guys remember, I have that saying, one a day. What's your one a day? And so for me, it was, how many one-on-ones am I scheduling per day? And so I would spend a certain amount of time every single day setting appointments, keeping in touch with prospects that have fallen off the radar. So finding people that I haven't talked to in a while that are just gone. Pitching. So doing pitches, basically doing one-on-ones. That's what this was, pitching new students or capital partners. So doing one-on-ones, managing student and capital partners lists. So basically just trying to make sure that I'm organized. And so that I can look at my data, if you will, and within 1 second, I can find out where people are, whether it's my students, whether it's my capital partners. So when I was raising money, I would do presentations. during the week. And so I marked that off: meetings, masterminds, bookkeeping, budgeting, business, personal development, social media, conference calls, deal analysis. Okay. And then notice that there is a rating system. A is awesome, N is neutral, F is frustrating. And so notice that I have my rating system all the way through here. So follow up calls and emails. It doesn't look like I have a thing there, but that was probably like a neutral for me. It's like, like I do it, but it's not like my favorite thing in the world. Respond to incoming text. I'm not sure why I put FAN there, but I'm guessing that I was trying to say that sometimes I like it, sometimes I hate it. that's what that tells me. I'm trying to think what my mindset was years ago when I did this. Setting appointments, F. No, I hated setting appointments. Keeping in touch with prospects, no, I hated that. Pitching news. So doing one-on-ones, I love meeting with people one-on-one. I love that one-on-one connection and generating or helping them understand those ideas, whatever it is. I loved the pitching aspect, but everything that built up to that, scheduling, following up, text, I hated it. I had a bunch of F's in there saying, no, frustrating. I do not like that. Managing the student capital partner list, no. Frustrating. Presentations, love it. So you can see that all the minuscule stuff, I did not like that stuff, but to show up and do a presentation, loved it. But everything leading up to it, no, right? So these are just personal, my personal preferences. Bookkeeping, oh my goodness, no. That was actually the first hire I ever made, was a bookkeeper. But I will say that I held out way too long. I did my own bookkeeping for too many years. And I found out that my bookkeeper charged me, oh my goodness, $100 a month or something like that. And I remember always thinking that bookkeepers were expensive. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm saving the money. I'm going to do it. I'm saving the money. I'm going to do it. And then I finally hired my first bookkeeper. He's like, oh, that'll be $100 a month. I was like, what? Where have you been for the last X many years? And I was just too afraid to even call a bookkeeper to get a quote because I thought it was going to be too expensive. But yeah, so F, frustrating. I hated the bookkeeping, all that kind of stuff. Let's see, the personal development stuff, loved it. Awesome. Creating social media content, loved it. But actually posting, I hated it. And so that's why I did that, because there was two parts to that. I loved to pull out the camera and create the content, but I hated taking the content, boiling it down into the actual post and posting it. And so notice that I have an awesome there and a frustrating below it, because I liked that aspect, but I hated the other aspect. And so conference calls, loved it. Deal analysis, awesome. But I liked looking at the numbers when they were all gathered, but I hated gathering the numbers. I hated pulling the comps and getting them. I hated basically building the deal checks. But I liked looking at them. And so I even differentiated there. Writing up a creation of basically all the deal paperwork, the REPSIs, the notes, the contracts between capital partners, lending partners. F, I hated that part. Working with the escrow to complete and record. So all the little emails back and forth, basically just like what I just did with that refinance where I emailed the title company. I don't love that part of the deal. Asking the title, hey, will you send me this document, the packet, the packet that you guys just watched me email to the title company. For me, that's the frustrating part. I don't like it. Creating the systems, I love building that note system, building that the folder. What was it called? The folder system. What did we call it? The at a glance folder system or the 1 second folder system. Building that system and masterminding it, figuring out okay, here's I need this folder. I need this folder. To me, that was fun to be okay, what's next in the deal? What's next in the deal? Okay, yeah, here's what we need to remember. And then as we would do deals, being like, oh, you know what? I need to change it like this. And oh, I need to add this emoji to remember to do this thing. To me, that was fun to build that system. But then running it, no, I don't want to actually fill the folders with documents, call all the people to find the documents and have them email them and then load them in. I liked building it, but I hated running it. So the process, I loved getting the verbal confirmations and calling them, but I hated everything else. Doing the write-up, getting the signatures, sending out wire instructions with proper dollar amounts, and to the communication with the escrow company. F. I hate. In other words, it looks to me like I love. Oh shoot. Here is actually one of the partners that's about to wire in. You guys cool to watch me do some work really fast? But in real life, there is an example of one of the partners calling in saying like, hey, I'm about to send the wire down to the deal that we're doing today. And so if I go back to share, yeah, we were on Google, but if I go back to that folder, that deal that we're doing today, as soon as she sends me that confirmation, and hey, I sent the wire, then we can go in and we can mark it off. And typically I have my assistant do that because just like right here, basically this was the thing that she's calling about. This section right here is sending out wire instructions and managing and making sure that they're tracking all that stuff. And so I hated that part. I like talking to her. Jerry's like one of my favorite people in the world. We've done like 100 real estate deals together. And sorry if you guys didn't hear all that conversation, but she was basically just saying like, hey, I can't get a hold of the title company to confirm the wire instructions. And I'm like, oh, we confirmed them, because I go to my folder and Kate has beautifully done a V at the beginning of that folder and a KL halfway through or after the number. So I know that Kate Lovejoy is her name, actually verified. And then I see that the document says confirmed in all caps. And so I'm like, yep, we confirmed them. And then she read me off the wiring instructions. And I said, yep, looks good to me. Because yes, I know we confirmed them. Anyway, so I think you guys are getting the point here. You go through your 1 week and it sucks because you have no blank space in your calendar. You mark off every little 15-minute section of what you did. And then you rate those things. This was awesome. This was neutral. Like, I don't really care to do it. I don't really care not to do it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me. I'm fine to do it. But then you have all the Fs. And so all you do is take all of your Fs, all the things that frustrate you, and you build a job description. You literally copy and paste all of the frustrating things that you do in a week. And you copy them and then you paste them into a job description piece of paper, whatever. And so notice that, sure, I kind of renamed these things so that it sounds better instead of just like, I hate this. But notice here, a leader who is willing to take charge and organize day-to-day activity. That was on my F list of the things that I did in a week that frustrated me. I hated the organization part because, like I say, I loved building the system, but I hated running it. And so to me, this was basically a translation of running it, running my what do we call it again? At a glance foldering system. That was the translation. Because if I put running the at a glance foldering system in here, they're going to be like, what? So this was just a job ad way to convert that into a leader who is willing to take charge and organize day-to-day activity, aka build my folders with emojis, communicate with clients and prospects, confirming appointments, right? Calling the people to say, hey, did you get the insurance? Hey, how's the deal treating you? Hey, are you coming to Thursday night? Like. And so obviously I tried to make that sound cooler. Communication, research and data. Because remember, I hated gathering the data. I hated gathering the comps. I hated gathering the building the spreadsheets. I hated gathering all that stuff, but I liked looking at it. And so when I put this job ad out for the first employee that I ever hired, that's what research and data entry software. that's what that translated into. Like basically analyzing real estate deals and opportunities, kind of an extension of that. Running all those numbers so that everything is gathered in a beautiful space so that all I have to do is log in and look at it. And it's all gathered in the way that I like it. Project management, basically ongoing stuff, do various errands. Oh, I hate it with a passion. If I ever have to leave my post, if I have to leave my desk because I have to run to the post office, or I have to run to do a little errand. The travel time probably takes more time than the actual task. I hate stuff like that because it stops me from staying focused and doing the important things, pay time, if you will. And so in my original job ad, do various errands and tasks, making travel appointments, go to the post office, etc., running to do stuff. I hate having to stop what I'm doing and go do that. And like to the point where I would let them add up so big that all of a sudden it was like, okay, I am doing errands all day because I've postponed, or what do they call that? Not postponed. I've procrastinated until now. My errands are so multiplice, whatever, that I have to take all day to do errands. Anyway, so
Dane, I love that you're so organized that you forgot the word procrastination. That's awesome.
There you go. Thank you. Let's see. Scheduling appointments with client. Yeah, you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. And so I literally copied and pasted all the things that said F, frustrating, into my job ad. And I hired somebody. And I paid them, get this, $400 a month to start. Because at the time, that was not much money. I mean, it hurt. Don't get me wrong. Like I wasn't making enough money that I could be like, yeah, like let's get employees, pay them $4,000 a month. But $400 a month, I was like, you know what? If they do all these things for $400 a month, what can I do? And, going back to my activity sheet, I can do more of this. I can do more pitching. I can do more presentations. I can do more meetings and masterminds. I can do more personal development. I can create more content for social media. I can do more conference calls. I can look at more deals. I can create more systems. And so I hired that first employee and paid him $400 a month. And I was able to spend way more time doing all those things. And then I hired the second employee because I did it again. There was all these things that I hated. And I built the job description, did the activity. What am I doing all week, every week that I hate, that's frustrating. And I built me a job ad. And I started them out at like $400 a month, 10 hours a week. Very, very little, maybe even 7 hours a week, very part-time. And they were happy to do it. And I was happy to pay them. And I feel like my business just, I don't want to say took off, because then I got to work doing a lot more creating systems, doing a lot more deal analysis, doing a lot more presentations, doing a lot more one-on-ones, to the point now where I can literally, let's see, I think one of these is like pitching. I can literally communicate with a human, get them to say yes, because remember, real estate is a contact sport and then a contract sport. Somebody says yes, and then I never have to see the deal again because my employees pick up where I leave off. And all I have to do is tell my assistant, hey, this person said yes. And she takes it from there. And I love it. But I will say, in the beginning, I did that. And I even loved that part of it where I had CEO Dane hat and I had employee Dane hat. And I would run those systems to the point where, again, I could log in and within 1 second, I knew what to do. And it just made it easier to hire somebody because I started thinking that way. So anyway, I think I saw some questions. Where is this found? Where is this? I'm not sure what you mean. Where is this found?
We would love to have that resource that you created. We can copy it basically and make it our own.
Are you talking
worksheet?
this worksheet? This is just my example. So I started with a blank slate here. I mean, I'm happy to share this with you guys if you want. I don't think there's any personal information in here if I'm not mistaken. But let's see. Here's what I can do. Share. Anyone with, oh yeah, it's already with anyone with the link can view, copy link, paste it in here. Cool. So click on that link if you want to review my very first 1 week of filling in every 15-minute block on my calendar of all the things I liked and didn't like that I was having to do. Joy says, what's your drive? I am a executive director. I scored equal points in both executive and director. I love my lifestyle, and I love this, and I love the. I guess executive is as a systems driven person, right?
Intellectual systems driven.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. I was surprised I didn't score as high. I think intellectual was like my third one. I was surprised I didn't score higher in that. But back to I like the system building. I hate the system running of things. I hated running the system. And I think an intellectual is more like that. But yeah, honestly, I wouldn't care what my drive was. I would just do things that are going to make my life better. I don't remember thinking, what's my drive so that I could make my life better? I just remember thinking, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make my life better. And so yeah, don't let your drive stop you from doing stuff like this to make your life better. Let's see, a couple other questions. I'm a teaching administration. Let's see, I am in administration and finance. Sorry, I cannot read. I am teaching an administration and finance class and discussing time management. I just assigned this as homework to the class. It truly worked. Yeah. Basically tracking every step of every single that yeah, awesome. So cool. So I hope that helps.